I just starting off the show, just listening to myself. It was a video that I was listening to for a moment here as I was preparing for us to be together with Cathy Holt. We're going to be talking about really some wonderful things. I remember when I was in corporate and I didn't understand my special space as a woman. I was fighting being a woman. Since I was a kid, I really wanted to be a man. I thought that if I was a man, would have been able to do this, be able to do that, be able to protect myself. And you know what I'm finding out? When I start talking to family members, it doesn't matter. You can love on yourself as a man, or you can love on yourself as a woman, whatever you feel comfortable with, because no matter what, it doesn't stop you from the issues that you have to deal with as you're confronting and growing and experiencing your life. We all have our spaces where we judge ourselves, and in reflection, we judge on others too. And I'm learning about this and trying to say it in the nicest way of like, let's stop blaming and shaming ourselves. And that's what the Fresh Talks Global Vision really is about. Like, if we can do that and then interface our heart and what we're feeling, we're grounded. We get to experience people in another way where we're breathing and listening instead of breathing and they're talking and we're trying to figure out what they're saying and what we're going to say next. But we breathe and we lean in. And me as a woman, I get to love being a woman. And it's a wonderful experience. When all my life I wanted to be a man, I'm like, heck, it's beautiful being a woman. So we're going to get to talk about that. Can we talk about this? We're going to get into speaker locking arms and being able to look at things globally. But can we get into this about what we could be looking at the beginning of what I was just introducing, with the beginning of what we want to look at, so that we can look at the bigger picture and explore that within the 30 minutes that we get to spend time together? What do you think about that? If we start like right there, what's that make you feel like? Am I going in the right direction, Cathy? What do you think?
I think so. I think to start kind of more intimate or internal,
Yeah.
for me, really speaks to knowing ourselves. We're with ourselves 24/7. And if we don't know ourselves, we don't know our values, we don't know our strengths,
Yeah.
then how can we go out and impact anybody else or the world or just even our community or our families or, our lives? So I really do believe that it all really starts with self-reflection and really understanding what you're made of, what do you stand for? Because then you can use that as a lens for your decisions, for where do you want to spend your energy? What do you want to work on? What's important to you and what directions do you want to go and where do you want to have impact? So I think that, yes, it's very important to start more internal and more intimate or close to home, close
Yeah.
to self, and then move on from there.
And Cathy Holt, I didn't get to say your whole name here, but we're really talking about women empowerment, really showing up as a leader, and there's space for everybody to do that, because the more that we shine, the more that everybody shines around us. And you're talking about the beginnings, and I find that that's actually the hardest work, is to understand that once you start opening that up, there's vulnerability, but you find home in that. When you start looking at that, because there's some people that you're going to work with, because you're talking about leaders, they're already moving forward. They understand I can be raw, I can be vulnerable, just give it to me so that I can process it, I can move forward, and then they can look at the bigger picture. But when we're doing really, really big things, it doesn't matter how many years you have an experience of this. We're really all talking the same. The people that are just beginning and the people who have been doing this for a while, because these big things happen where we get in this vulnerability where we feel like we might be caving in because we're seeing things in a new lens, which is really going to help us get to the other side so we can start talking about this bigger leadership role that we can see ourselves in. What is it that you find may stick somebody when it comes to stepping in and vulnerability, where they're just like, oh, and they want to back out, bounce out, eat yucky food, drink, whatever their thing is, to try and actually bounce out? How do you help them lean in and start finding where their home compass is?
I think one of the big important things is that recognizing that we are all unique. I mean, we all say that, but we have all had a journey in life that has helped mold us, that has shaped us to who we are. And it's a unique perspective, it's a unique voice. Nobody else has lived your life, only you have. So it has shaped you into who you are, what you believe. And I also do believe that that can change over time to some extent, not your core value, but your perspectives and things based on the experiences you're having. So recognizing that you are unique and your voice counts because nobody else can think or present something like you do. And once we remember that and lean into it, as you said, and recognize that that's what gives us our voice weight or power, however you want to look at it, that's what makes it important. And
Yeah.
what you said also is something that I talk a lot about is that active listening rather than listening to respond.
Yeah.
We do that all the time and we shouldn't. We need to really listen to learn.
You know, I find that heart, when you say, oh, go with your heart, lead with your heart, that is the most confusing thing to hear. But I'm going to say something to that. And I know you have more to say to this because we're talking about the base level to really get to that next level we want to get into. But if we can lead with that heart, what that is going to feel like is that we don't have anything but being here present because I love you. Like I'm just loving this conversation. I'm loving what's happening now. I understand right here and now. I just want to be here, infectiously here, because I know I can feel your energy. I can feel what you're talking about. I can feel the love of myself growing and everybody else that gets to connect with this. But it's just that feeling, that energy, and it's like infectious. But that's a big bridge to really get there. So how do you get somebody so they feel safe so that they can actually be in the energy with somebody or be in the energy of their bigger project that has them bouncing out going, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I know this is what my purpose is.
That's a great question. That really is because it is a tough bridge, and it's part of, I think, knowing yourself is how you can gain courage and then confidence. I think that, you know, I liken it to kind of riding a bike. We don't sit and contemplate riding the bike. You know, we decide we want to learn how to ride the bike. If we remember that far back for me, that's quite a ways. But then you get on, you have somebody supporting you in that process. You wobble, you might fall, and eventually you start riding that bike. And that's what gives you confidence. And I think life is kind of very similar to that. It's the courage that comes before confidence. And it's in the doing that we actually gain the confidence and gain that our willingness to be more vulnerable and our willingness to put ourselves out there because we have confidence in us. We know who we are and we're doing it. And I really do think that that is what helps in that bridge to take us from one level to the next, because that way, you know, it's having the courage and not letting the fear control you, but just saying, and let me just add to that, when you know who you are, you know what to say yes to, and you know what to say no to, because you know if that resonates with you, if that's part of who you are. So that and the confidence, you know, it kind of all melds together to give you that opportunity to cross that bridge.
I like when you started off, like at the beginning, we were talking about this thing that nobody can be you. And when you start talking about like, you know, this, you're going to know these decisions because this is how you know that you feel. And I feel like it's energy these days. I feel like I don't have to like cerebral it as much. I just feel like I'm cruising, but I have my to-do list. Somehow I get more done, and it may not even be all four things I thought I was going to do that day, but somehow it moved something forward because I just understood inside energetically that I just kept moving forward. And so if I know that I only know the way to think the way I know how to think, all of a sudden I feel like I don't have to be exterior and fall into the trap of watching somebody else and their experience and what they're doing out there and thinking that they're ahead of me or that they're nailing it. I'm realizing I'm just infectiously loving them because I know there's something that I'm learning about them. I don't want to copy them because I get to love what they're doing. There's no way I could replicate that. So I get to love on the other people out there. I don't get confused on what I'm supposed to be doing because I go, okay, I got more information now. Instead of sometimes what happens to me, parachute complete. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still relating to my head this day. So I need to take some extra time. And this is where the book is, I bet. I mean, this is where you probably do your genius stuff to help people move forward. So with that, let's get in there about the work that you're actually seeing that can be done and needs to be done because you are noticing this is what moves them into this next space here. And I can feel those people are asking this question of like, you're talking about things that sound really good. It sounds like it's easy the way you're speaking about it, but what are those things that help me open up so I can really be there present and nail it and really be myself and understand what I am?
Oh gosh, that's such a deep question too,
It
and it
is,
is.
Stephanie,
It
we're
is.
going in deep, Mama. We are, because
No, I
you've
know,
been
but
doing
that's
this
what
for
we're
a while,
supposed
my
to be
friend.
doing. But I love that. That's what we're
You've been
supposed to be
doing
doing.
you've been doing this for a while. I know these are the only conversations I know to have. I can't have surface conversation, and
Exactly.
you know you can't either. We can't go,
Right.
we need to go deep.
Right. And that's what I appreciate because it is really drilling down to the core of things. And I think where what I do is you can't just learn these things in books. Books are great, they're good for a foundation,
Yeah.
but it's the practice, it's the actual practice of doing. And lots of times we need somebody to walk that path with us because it's hard sometimes to do. I mean, I even know, I love to exercise, but I go and exercise with people that can help me because if when I do it on my own, sometimes I don't know the other effects it's having on my body, I guess you could say. So I end up hurting myself because I think, yeah, let's do that. I read about this. I can go, do squats on these weights. And I was just reading a book about that. And then I'm like, yeah, but I need somebody to also guide me that knows my body better than I do and the mechanics so that I can do it and be more effective more quickly and really take a leap into my journey and that's what I do with leadership too. And I think we need to do that with leadership is that, we have to practice it. We have to learn how to use it strategically. Once we know our strengths and our capabilities and our values, how do we use it strategically so we're not burning out, so we're not going off in all the kinds of different directions? So a lot of what needs to be done is the actual practice because we all know we learn things when we do it. We can think about it forever, and it's great learning. I mean, I learned a lot from books, even in school and now in life.
Yeah.
But it's when I actually have to apply it and actually test it out and sometimes make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. I don't say anything about failure because it's just an opportunity to learn. And so I think that's where we really stretch into growing.
I just feel so much love here and like us women really empowering each other and discovering, it's like hard to find the right coach. And I really want to understand what you do. Like, I always think about if I had somebody hold my heart in the way I just felt safety, where I could just say whatever and then somebody reflect that. And anything coming through my mind, they're going to be able to catch those things. Are like, okay, let's just slow it down here because you just said that. And this is where you're stopped and all that kind of stuff. I want to hear your magic. What are you doing when you're with your one-on-one in your groups and when you're speaking with people to really help them be able to feel safe? They can see themselves. But what is it that you like about what you do for people so they can really feel like
Yeah.
this magic that you do, which is helping women feel empowered and get out there, do bigger things as a leader.
Yeah, thank you for that question because it really is. I like to look at it also as magic, but it's not just me doing the magic, it's working together to create that magic. And when I work with women, the first thing we really do, no matter where you are in your leadership journey, is review your values because we sometimes forget them. We're so busy running around doing crazy things or needed things, but they're in a kind of chaotic way that we forget or we just don't revisit those values. So that's one of the exercises we do first. And the same with strengths, so that we see we are good at stuff. And especially with the new leadership paradigm, that's not the old curmudgeon in the office barking out orders, that what really everyone is looking for now are these qualities that are really inherent to most women: empathy, listening, creative problem solving. I mean, how many times at home or at work have you had to really get creative in solving a problem? And all those things that we're good at, to recognize that those are leadership capabilities, because so often women have been told, or the social messaging is, you have to have a title, you have to have employees, you have to have an office. And that's not what leadership is anymore. Leadership is just getting people to unite under a common goal. And we do that all the time, but we don't recognize it. So that's another thing I work with women. And then we do practice how to message, how to be strategic in what you say and to whom, so that you have greater impact. I worked with one woman in Nairobi who was a great community leader. She had to lead because of really survival, and but she was often doubting, why did they pick her, kind of thing, or why did she step into this? So we looked at what she was really good at, and she was good at listening to people and hearing and being empathetic towards their challenges and their problems, and coalescing people around an idea. They created the first kind of what you would call maternity ward, very rural area where women and babies were dying a lot because they couldn't get to a hospital. And so we built on that, and we developed those skills even more and practiced them and practiced them and practiced them, and put her in spaces where she had to practice. And then, she is now an expert in the UN on caregiving, and speaks and is invited to speak all the time. I mean, this was a long process. It didn't happen overnight, but working at her strengths, having her recognize that she's strong and powerful. That's so often what women doubt. Our self-doubt is kind of that little nagging thing on our shoulder that can really do us in.
There's a couple things that are coming up for me. I love the tail end of this that I want to bring up right now. We show up so differently when we are on this end where we're just struggling and we don't see ourselves. And I love that you're talking about that you help somebody see and hear themselves, because that's the bridge that brought her into a space where she's like at a higher level. And when she walks in a room, it's way different than when you first started working together. We all have those capabilities. I had somebody one time say to me that was already a client, and they were having a hard time paying month to month, and they're like, "Oh, the way you showed up last week on the spot, I would have paid you $10,000. I would have written a check. I would have found a way to get that money." And I was like, "Here, wait, that means that I actually have a higher level, that maybe I've been having these hard days and thinking I'm only this," because we are talking about how to open that space up. And when that client told me that, I finally got the perspective of where I'm at percentile wise. Like I'm like at 50% of, where I should be. And all of a sudden I started loving on myself more, because I knew that people wanted that. And I stopped being shy, and I realized my shy, which actually really isn't shy, it's just me hiding, that it was actually stopping me from being able to make the money that I needed to, for people to actually believe what I was saying was truth. And even family members, really understanding what I was doing, because it was so different as an accounting CPA work that I was doing 15 years ago to more of this spiritual journey, being able to see and hear people. So I hear that you're really good at being able to see and hear people. I love that. And that's what that bridges. I think that's a special quality that you have to help people do that. So if people get this juice where they start really actually being able to see and hear themselves, and they start pulling their shoulders back and going, like their heart's open and exposed, they're like, oh yeah, I'm in there. I think this is the next stage where we want to talk about what you're able to do for that woman, that client. Is what do you see globally that's happening out there, that if everybody was seen and heard, and in the sense of like how your strategies really work for this woman that just felt so confused and lost. We see many people out there like that. What do you see as your life's work out there, your legacy, the stuff that you see that right now you can affect people globally? And is there a hashtag with that? We call it speaker locking arms, because we're talking about opening the voice and locking arms together, what you and I are doing today. Can you share with me what your bigger vision is and what can happen in this powerful space if these women really step into this leadership and see this from the beginning of the conversation to the flow and where we are in this pivot right now? How could this look?
Oh, absolutely. That's, I've always, well, not always, but for a long, long time have said that my mission is to create a movement of women leaders that can change the world, because I think the feminine energy, the way we approach challenges, what we do and how we do it is different and absolutely needed right now. And I think, I work with women everywhere, at all levels in their leadership journey, from a young woman that I was helping her recognize her strengths so she wasn't looking for outside affirmation all the time, but realized what she was doing was called leadership. And because she was crushing it at creating these international events, here in the States for international students, and doubting herself because somebody didn't say, wow, that was a good job. But no, you did a great job. So I think if we can do that with more and more women, and work and just unleash the power and the voice of women, I think that will impact us, just not in our family or in our community, but in a much bigger stage and throughout the world. And we do see that. I mean, I work sometimes with the UN and several international NGOs that work with women's groups around the world. And I see more and more women stepping up and using their voice, sometimes when it's very challenging for them, and even sometimes when it's dangerous. But we're kind of seeing a wave of women saying, no, we will not be quiet anymore. We have ideas, we are unique, we have perspectives that are valuable, and we are going to share them. And it takes a lot of courage. Like we were just talking about earlier, it takes a lot of courage, but more and more women, because we're more in solidarity, the way we can communicate across the globe, or just here, talking with each other with all all the technology, we have such an incredible support group that we can, share our energy, share our downtimes, lift each other up when we need to lift each other up, and just encourage women to speak up, to stand up, speak up, and do. And I think that's what's happening. And I see it, and I'm very excited about it. And whatever role I can play in helping women get to that point, that's where I see my passion.
I feel the power in what you're speaking about. It's like, I want to get to my work even more, of just like my morning work. So I open myself up even more. I want to find the right clothes that make me feel good. I want to find the inside of me that lights me up. This conversation is just incredible. And again, I love the story that you shared from beginning to where your client was and is now. And we get to see this stuff. Where do people connect with you? How can we get to where we can learn more about these things that you're doing? And maybe perhaps you have something going on where people can, get your book. Can we talk about your book? And from there, talk about how we can connect with you. Let's talk about your book and the connection, how we can get closer to you.
Okay. Yes. The book, I participated in this one book called the 262 Women's Project through Mission Accepted. And, and I wrote the forward, and I'm also a small chapter in it. It's just about women leading in their lives, whatever way they are. And it's 262 women. So I went to the Emmys and with that book, representing the book at a gifting lounge. And everybody there that knew me was saying, Cathy, you've done so much work for, more than 40 years. You've been doing this. You need to write a book. And I was like, that's a lot. But, I had other things going on. But I really decided to do it because I was offered an invitation to actually present my book at the Oscars, which was only 5 months away, at a gifting lounge. So I thought, okay, I holed up, I became a hermit, and I wrote my book so that I could present it at the Emmys. And but it's not, the book to me it's not just talk about leadership kind of ethereally. It's actually a book that gives strategies and tools and reasoning for why women need to lead and how to do it. So I think that was my goal with the book, is to really give them, and there's not to discount anybody, but there's so many books for like C-suite women and women that are already in power, but there's not as many options for women that just are either aspiring to lead or somewhere in the middle of their journey and just don't know how to scale up or how to catapult their leadership. So that's really what I was focusing on with the book, so that it's just for any woman who wants to, courageously step into her power can use the book as a way to do it.
I can see that it could be like the beginning of the journey, but I know, like what I was saying at the beginning, you could be at a high level, stuff that you do and earning great income, and that book could still come into play, because we do forget some of the baby steps when it comes to, breaking through things. If you want to get to that next level, it's like, no matter where you are, it just seems like these things are going to always come back, but just different levels. But those beginning steps are like, no matter where you are, because to get real, it's very vulnerable, and to just get down to the basics is it does transformation. And the easier that we make it, which it sounds like you're just there saying, hey, this is easy steps, but this isn't easy. I'm going to give you some basic stuff. I'm going to see and hear you. I'm going to give you those steps so that you can start seeing you as a person that's viable for, like, are you thinking that? Okay, well, that's where you're going to be. Let's talk about that. And I believe if you're thinking something, it's not there to naysay yourself or think you can't do it. It's like, you're thinking that, well, okay. I mean, why would you ever question something that's getting to you, that you're supposed to be doing something? It's when you don't believe in yourself and you're doing stuff at a really high level. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Thank
So,
you.
okay, so we have your book.
Yeah,
And
can
we
I just
have,
add one more thing, because I think it's important to also to address, and it's that it's still hard for women, no matter what level you're at. We still have all kinds of societal barriers that that whole thing about being a leader as a woman, and that fine line between being assertive and being aggressive, and all those other words that they assign to women. Those are things that still happen no matter what level you are in your leadership. And sometimes the higher up you go, the more challenging it gets with those expectations, or those, the way society views you as a leader, and how your colleagues might view you as a leader. So I think that's why I really do believe that at all levels of our leadership journey, we need to have that solidarity, have that for each other and learn from each other. And that's what I hope to impart on people, women, in my work, in my book, and everything I do, is some of the tools and the skills that I have learned from teaching women in gender studies, working in politics, always related around women. A lot of the ways to either circumvent those barriers or take them down.
I love it. Yeah. I love I think this is where we're going to end. We did some great stuff here. We have people that are ready to get a higher level, feel more empowered, know that the higher you go in whatever path that you're taking, that it doesn't get easier. It actually involves more courage, which you said, which I love that word, courage. I love you, my friend. Thank you for doing all the work that you do out there. And
And
thank
thank
you
you
for
so much. I
partnering.
just it has been such a joy to have this conversation with you, because I think you bring definitely a level of energy and knowledge to this space also, that really opens up our conversations. So please continue what you're doing. I just love it. I really do. Thank you.
You know, so when I started this speaker locking arms, that was like a whisper. And it's wonderful to have these conversations because then it evolves things. We are all just communicating and helping each other. And like whatever you said, you are getting something just by being able to say it and be able to share. And whatever I get to say as I'm interviewing you, which I love having Fresh Talks Global Vision, because then, and I'm speaking to everybody out there as stepping in, even doing a podcast. It's so wonderful to be inviting people in and just, not thinking about that question, but just loving on the people that's in front of you. There's a reason why we are together right now, Cathy. There is. And we are helping things move forward any way we can. And any question I can ask that I think maybe you haven't been asked, or I can feel that you're going in deeper, or that maybe you're not. Maybe you're thinking, this is as far as we usually go, and I'm just going to get to that next step. And I'm like, but how can we get in there deeper in that conversation? Yeah. Because I know that you know what you're doing. And I don't want it to be fluff. I don't want it to just be pretty and fun. I want you to get in there and just get in the crud. Us women are dealing with so much, and all of our emotions, and how to understand that's our superpower. That's so incredible once we understand that, because we can fly and open up in all these different angles and find one path to go at that moment, and not try and go all over the place. When we start understanding that we don't have to feel bad, that we want to cry for a moment because we're having a release, we're going, that's right. And a tear comes down. And before, we were talking about that, the standing strong, the masculine, and this is how you do it, and smile while your heart is hurting and your voice isn't there. You're trying to be like everybody else and all that. So that's a great conversation. I appreciate you, my friend.
Yes, thank you
Give us the
so
link
much.
so our community can connect with you and everybody else there on YouTube, and where we're going to take this. Have a wonderful
Yes.
day.
Okay, well, I appreciate it, and you have a great rest of your day too.
Yes, and I know you were probably saying where you want people to be sent to. We can do that before
Okay.
we.
Oh, okay. Yes. My website is just fairly simple. It's www.cathyholt.com. Or if you want to communicate me through email, it's Cathy at Catherine, CATHERINE Holt.com. And I'd love to hear from everybody. I mean, like I said, my mission is a big one. So if you want to join the movement, reach out to me.
Yeah, and Cathy, let's make sure that we figure out how we can do the speaker locking arms, your women empowerment, and how we can actually just stay in the community wherever we're at, that we're using the same hashtags to support each other, or whatever. If there's a room we need to be in, or if I find there's a room you need to be in, but let's keep this going. Let's keep this growing
Absolutely.
in this world. Because I know in 5 years, I see myself in Italy with people that we're going to nurture throughout these 5 years, that, about the humanitarian experience, the human experience that we really are looking for here. So we got big things to do here, Catherine. So
We do
let's do
lots
it.
of work.
And everybody, You have big things to do. Fresh Talks Global Vision, our community, people that are growing with us, people that are coming in from, learning about what Catherine is doing and how you can get connected. But let's keep seeing eye to eye. Let's keep seeing each other. Let's keep growing as women and being able to develop the strength and intuition that we bring in. Love everyone. Mwah.
Thank
Namaste.
you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.